every Maine business adds value to our state. Diversity adds strength and beauty to our communities. We each have different journeys with a common goal: to prosper and contribute to a vibrant, thriving future in Maine, all to help strengthen the economy. Greenlight Maine and Bangor Savings Bank present Elevating Voices, a celebration of Maine's diverse business community.
Welcome to Elevating Voices, the show where we shine a spotlight on diverse businesses that make a difference in Maine, both socially and economically. We've met a lot of inspiring people who moved to Maine from other states like New York and Chicago, and other places like the Congo, Mumbai, and Ghana, and some were even born here. These Mainers bring different customs, cultures, and creativity, as well as strong passion for business that strengthens and enriches Maine. We thought it would be appropriate to begin this season in Caribou, on tribal land, where food sovereignty is a priority. It's easy to see why Aroostook County is referred to as the crown of Maine. It's majestic, with impressive landscape that spans 6,800 miles. The name Aroostook is from the Micmac language, meaning clear or beautiful water. Kara O'Donnell is currently the Natural Resources Director for the Aroostook Band of Micmacs.
Today we're at our farm store here in Caribou, Maine. This is traditional Wabanaki and Micmac ancestral land.
Tell us about what you do here.
I oversee multiple programs within the Natural Resources Department. And so one of those programs is the Farm and Fish Hatchery. We have a 4-acre farm here. We have a recirculating aquaculture fish hatchery here where we raise eastern brook trout. We raise about 12,000 pounds per year.
So how did Micmac Farms begin?
Oh, it came to be as a vision of tribal leadership and tribal community, just knowing the need for access to healthy food and food security. Wabanaki people and Micmac people have fished for brook trout for thousands of years in these waters, and because of mercury contamination from coal-fired power plants, all of the rivers in Maine have fish consumption regulations on them, and so tribal members are not able to practice their tradition of fishing and eating for sustenance what they catch.
Fred Corey is the former Natural Resources Director for the tribe. In 1996, he helped start an environmental health program.
I had an observation that there was a lot of diabetes, obesity, and other ill effects. So I was asking our health program why the rates of these diseases were so high in the tribal community, and they said that was all related to diet and health. The Micmac tribe historically were hunters and gatherers, and moose meat and salmon were two of the foods that they used as the base of their food supply, which are very healthy foods. So in starting our environmental program, I had the illusion that we would be able to take care of some of the environmental issues that we face, that we could restore the resources and make them available for the tribe. And like with salmon, our barrier now are the dams over in Canada that prevent the return of salmon to our main rivers. And then even with our wild fish, like the brook trout, we have high levels of mercury. And if you're a woman or child, you're only allowed to eat one fish meal a month. Taking those resources away from the tribe, the real healthy salmon and trout and moose meat, and you replace that with food substitutes like, they call it the pink slime, hamburger, real fatty and greasy, and all these other foods. So you replace the healthy foods with these other foods, and then you end up with the diabetes and obesity and all the other health problems that you get. We had the idea that if we couldn't rely upon the natural resources because they're not plentiful enough and not safe to consume, that we need to create our own resources, and that's where the idea for the fish hatchery came from.
People and tribal members evolved over thousands of years fishing cold water native brook trout, and the benefits of that are the omega acids that support brain development in children and babies in utero, and so it's so critical. It's so critically important where we don't get enough of that in our diet, and so bringing that back, that cultural food source, is really important.
With brook trout, it's something that Indians have been eating for, thousands and thousands of years. We lived on these rivers, we fished these rivers. It was part of our diet, our daily diet. We needed these to survive. And that's why it's so important for our tribe to keep this fisheries alive.
The vision with the tribe, I guess, years ago was food fishery and some kind of sustainability to help our tribal members eat healthier. And that was one of the main goals of getting the fish hatchery up and running. And it is where it is today, and it's still growing and maturing, and it's just something to be proud of.
Dave Masick is the environmental specialist fish and farm manager at Micmac Farms and has worked here for 23 years. What has happened here over the last 23 years?
We started as a community garden and then turned it into a small business. We started selling initially out of a tent up on the side of the road here before there were any buildings, and it's just been gradually, slowly growing.
It started out as just an empty field, and we plowed the ground and planted some seed, and then we had to bring a trailer to house all the equipment, and then we added a tent on it, and then we got money to build a facility, and part of that facility was for the farm and a part of it was for the fish. One thing that we didn't add in was the cost to construct the whole fish facility itself. A lot of staff were a part of that, putting those tanks up. So we had there's a lot of sweat equity into our fish farm from, myself as well as other employees. It is a labor of love, because it is something we want to see for the community. We want it to follow through to increase food sovereignty.
What made you choose brook trout? Is it because it's symbolic to the tribal people?
It's the local native fish. It's culturally really important, and it's been a good niche for us to be in, so we're not having to worry about the big salmon farms and things like that putting us out of business.
Is this the only fish hatchery of brook trout in the state of Maine?
I think we are the only ones raising them for food in the state of Maine.
And where can people find it?
They can get our fish here locally. We retail it out of our store when we have it available, and we also do ship it to Jess's Fish Market in Rockland and Harbor Fish Market in Portland, Maine.
What's it taste like?
It tastes a little bit like salmon, I think milder. It looks a lot like salmon as well.
The Northern Maine Brewing Company, located just down the road from the farm, where Joe Gervais is the executive chef and general manager. Gervais enjoys offering the farm-to-table experience.
We started going through them for their tomatoes, their fresh heirloom tomatoes, and then we started buying their trout, which they're known for, which is a fabulous product. When you have a trout that's that fresh, it just, maybe you don't know where it came from, but you know that there's something different about it and it's better than what you would normally get.
And you are facing sort of a good problem.
Yeah, we're selling out of all of our fish every year. We're hoping to do an expansion so that we can have a larger facility, one that I can actually have food-sized fish year-round and meet the pond stocking demand and have space for the babies as they're growing and developing.
Our vision has been to provide food fish to the community, brook trout and produce. The size of the hatchery right now is enough where we have to sell the vast majority of the fish in order to bring in enough revenue to keep our doors open. And so we're not able to meet that vision of feeding the community and the quantity that's meaningful. And so our biggest challenge really, I think, is the size of the hatchery. And so we're looking at, hopefully, an expansion where we can triple the size, and that will allow us to both feed the tribal community and the local community, but also bring in enough revenue to keep our doors open and keep the farm going.
Bangor Savings Bank, committed to investing in its employees, customers, and communities to help create a stronger northern New England. Bangor Savings Bank. You matter more.
Hannaford Supermarkets, celebrating the diversity of its employees, customers, and communities, and committed to fostering a welcoming environment. Together, they're greater than groceries. Learn more at hannaford.com.
Martins Point Generations Advantage, offering comprehensive Medicare Advantage plans. Information at martinspoint.org.
We have capacity, we have the vision, and we really need the funding to get there, to be able to make it all come together.
It seems that there's such a need for brook trout right now.
We get calls all the time for our fish. I mean, I've received calls from other big fish retailers wanting to know if we could provide them fish. And we're pretty small scale, and some of these were really large outfits that wanted volumes that I couldn't produce. So until we get an expansion built and have a bigger volume, I'm going to have to be telling people that we just don't have it. I also sell fish for pond stocking, and I sell out of all my available pond stockers every spring, and I continue to get calls for them as well.
How long does it take to grow the fish?
I can have a fish up to 14 inches in a 12-month period of time if I had the tank capacity to do it. And right now I'm raising them at about half that rate because I need to have pond stocking fish, and I have to hold them for a year to get them to an 8-inch size. So I'm growing them a little slower. Once I sell those out, I'm able to feed the fish a little more and start growing them faster. What I really need is some additional space so I can have some of my babies growing at a fast rate continuously till they're harvestable. And I need that extra space too so I can have them in here for a longer period of time to have bigger fish.
How does the pond stocking work? This sounds like a very difficult task.
We partnership with the soil and water conservation districts, and they'll hold sales at their office locations, and they'll start advertising in January for people to pre-order. They'll let me know how many fish they've sold. I will load them up in my truck, transport them down, and we box the fish up with bags and oxygen in boxes and give those to the customers off the back of my truck.
And do you work with the state and Inland Fisheries and Wildlife?
They have to approve every pond we put fish into. So people get a permit and it has to be approved, and I must see that before I can sell a live fish to the customer. We have our fish health tested annually to make sure there's no pathogens that they're trying to keep out of the state waters. I do get my eggs from the state of Maine as well. So I start with an approved strain of Maine brook trout. We weren't originally going to sell fish for pond stocking, but the state of Maine actually contacted me and asked me if I would. They had nobody else to provide a brook trout, and they wanted us to consider starting to do it. So we're happy to do it.
Now you just need to grow and expand.
We need to grow and expand, yeah. We've got a bigger demand than we're able to satisfy right now.
So the farm has been here about 10 years. The hatchery has been going on about 5, and we're starting to provide produce in bulk. Everything we grew this year went out the door fresh to the community.
Every Saturday, locals look forward to the farmers market where they can buy fresh food. It's gotten so popular, the farm has expanded and started a catering service.
We have always joked that you never have a tribal event or meeting or activity without a meal. That's a central piece of the culture. And for years we had Domino's Pizza on speed dial because it was fast, easy, it was delivered, everybody liked it. Since we got the fish hatchery, that's changed. We bought some large smokers, and now when we have a tribal gathering, we smoke up a bunch of fish, and there's a huge sense of pride that this is being produced by the tribe, and it's a culturally important food, and it's healthy. They've really embraced it, so that's been great to see.
For this gathering, the farm made a brook trout chowder that everyone lined up for. Ayana Green is the farm marketing manager. She's also a tribal member who remembers helping her mom as a little girl when the farm was just getting started. It's grown to serve people across Maine.
We were very fortunate to receive a grant from Good Shepherd Food Bank. It funds us to be able to take our produce to local food pantries. We're able to keep some of it right here in the community by delivering fresh produce to the Micmac Elders program, and they deliver it to the elders, cook meals, fresh meals with it. It's a really great program.
So how does this farm make you feel now?
Well, this farm makes me feel really proud. Like, it's the center of our growth. It's the center of where we started. We started with the earth and our people. The people who work here are amazing. They're invested. Like, they work all the time, even when they're not working.
You just gave me a chill.
Working for a tribal in government encompasses a lot of different aspects, especially in the natural resources department, and we see it as a right and a responsibility to take care of our natural resources. And this farm and hatchery really is a way for us to take care of our land and our people.
Puritan Medical Products has been manufacturing in Guilford and Pittsfield, Maine for more than a century. They responded quickly to the pandemic, shipping test swabs for people worldwide. Recognized for innovation and focus on the future. Puritan Medical Products.
Albin, Randall, and Bennett, committed to providing accounting solutions to Greenlight, Maine startups, working with businesses and organizations that operate locally and nationally. ARBCPA.com. First Park, a 285-acre business park located in Oakland, Maine, offering fiber internet, 3-phase power, and pre-permitted sites for businesses to start or expand. Details at firstpark.com.
Hello, Julene.
Hey, Jacques, how are you?
Very well, thanks. So nice to meet you, yeah.
So good to meet you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Welcome to the Exercise Design Lab.
Yeah, it's
come
beautiful.
On in. Come in.
All right, so this is where the magic happens.
This is where the neurologic training happens.
Wow, impressive, all this equipment here. Jacques New-Taylor owns the Exercise Design Lab in Bar Harbor. We sat down with him and learned about his perspective on exercise, both physically and mentally.
This is where people come to have a very specific exercise experience. I design exercise for people that's customized to help them achieve their goals.
This is very unique. What makes this so different from other exercise places?
Typically, when exercise is designed, you're focused purely on the muscles. Maybe a little bit on the heart, maybe a little bit on the lungs, but it's purely focused on the muscles. Well, here, we focus on the relationship between the brain and the muscles. When your muscles are contracting, under very specific conditions, they produce hormones that cross the blood-brain barrier. In other words, they get into your brain and they help you produce these molecules that make you feel better. But it is a specific type of exercise that actually can change the structure and the function of your brain. And I think that's so powerful that I want to make sure that more and more people have access to that experience.
So you also talk about the promise of exercise. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So when you have a little weight that you want to lose, what do? You're supposed to exercise. If you want to lower your cholesterol, you're supposed to exercise. If you want a little bit more energy or a little less stress in your life, you're supposed to exercise, right? But very few people actually achieve the promise of exercise. So the idea is there's this massive promise with exercise. It's supposed to do all these great things for you, but very few people get it. So I want to help more people achieve the promise of exercise. Feeling good, less stress, a clearer mind, feeling more confident in your body, reducing those risk factors of cardiovascular disease, right? So I started starting to study and explore different perspectives, and when I finally, turned toward my bias, which happens to be the nervous system, and started to think about how the brain controls muscles, and then how active muscles feedback and control the brain and affect the structure and the function of the brain, I was like, wait a minute, we got something here.
I like how you said that exercising isn't just for the all-star athlete.
Right.
It's for everybody.
It's for everybody. And I know we've all heard that a million times before, right? And then the next thing that people say is, so what you ought to do is go out every day and walk or run. And the problem is that's not appropriate for everybody, right? So the first thing we have to do is figure out how do we make exercise a sustainable, enjoyable, and effective experience. And that takes a little bit of exploration. It's a very customized thing.
So you have a quote that you use that you say you should prepare for chaos. What does that mean?
That's specifically in reference to a program that we designed initially for firefighters. The idea is that firefighters have to be prepared for chaos, and they don't get a chance to warm up. And oftentimes what they have to do forces them to put their bodies in less than ideal positions to lift something really heavy, and they have to do it quickly. They have to do it when they're tired. So the idea was, how do we prepare their bodies for that kind of chaos? How do we prepare their bodies to be resilient, and how do we prepare their bodies to recover? We've expanded that idea of preparation for chaos to people who have to use their bodies for any number of things. Like think of fishermen. There is something that might be very routine about some of the lifting that you have to do, but every now and then, right, a big wave comes along and you have to be prepared for that sudden motion. So the idea is we're preparing people for things that are not quite expected or anticipated.
It's good stuff. You don't think that way when you're gonna exercise. Right. You think everybody exercises the same way, and they shouldn't.
Exactly. It's interesting when you think about it. You have, for example, a firefighter who played, say, high school football. And so the way that they know how to get in shape is like a football player. Now, a football player's career is, I think on average, 8 years, if you're lucky, if you make it to the pros. A firefighter's career is 15, 20, 25 years long. So if you're abusing your body that way, you're not gonna make it, right? So you need something that's very specific to what you're doing, to your job.
Katie Bell is one of Jacques' clients. This experience has improved her quality of life.
You know, Jacques will ask you what you feel and where you feel it, kind of thing. And it's curious because you think, ooh, where did I feel that? And so it kind of, I don't know if it's for Jacques to know where you feel it or if it's for us to understand, to be more aware of our bodies. For some reason, he seems to know what I need, and specifically.
Technology has been something I use to solve problems. So we'll use something like these muscle oxygen sensors that use a technology called near-infrared spectroscopy. And this allows us to peer inside the working muscle to figure out how it's consuming oxygen and also how that tissue is having more fluid pushed into it so it can extract more oxygen. This gives us some insight about the effectiveness of the exercise. Let's take a look at the blue line. That is the SMO2 value from your right tricep.
So how did the pandemic affect your business, and what kind of clients do you have?
I started to work with clients virtually, and prior to the pandemic, I would have never thought of doing that. As a matter of fact, I thought that was a joke. I thought it was irresponsible and that you just couldn't do it well. Out of necessity, I gave it a shot, and it's been a really transformative experience. There's a lot that you can do virtually. So I work with people one-on-one virtually now, but I also was forced to take some of the education courses that I typically teach live and do that online. In terms of who I work with a lot of people who are really concerned that some of the aches and pains that they're having are going to prevent them from participating in the activities that they love. I work with a lot of people who are active and they want to stay that way.
He's inspiring because he makes you feel as if he really would like to know where you want to get to. Like, I want to get around my boat, which is very small, to get under and around and above. And at my age, it's harder and harder. So, I mean, he'll accept that sort of thing, which is pretty nice.
So you were living in California. What were you doing there?
Personal training. And there is a personal trainer on every single block in California. So I started working with some Hollywood celebrities. It was great, and some people in the entertainment industry, even some amateur athletes. people who were very focused on getting the results that they expected. So there was a lot of pressure. I actually enjoyed that pressure, that accountability, because it really pushed me to learn more and to figure out what works and to figure out what doesn't work, and even to experiment with ways of measuring how well things are working.
Wow.
Yeah.
What brought you to Maine?
Well, Maine just checked all the boxes. Great schools, supportive community, business opportunity, outdoors activity. I love the seasonality of Maine. I like the intensity of the environment.
That's a lot of boxes.
Yeah, it's a lot of boxes.
What can Maine do to become more diverse and welcome more people from all over the world?
Well, I think a couple things. Things like housing. For all the opportunity in terms of people's willingness to at least explore new ideas, coming from diverse people, where are they going to live? That really seems to be the major sticking point, is we have to put some serious effort to studying that issue and coming up with some creative solutions there. If we look around the world, people have solved some of the problems that we have here very effectively. We just need to figure out, how do we get those people to come and say, bring some of that knowledge, bring some of those ideas here, so we can put our own Maine spin on things.
Northern Light Health, because we're all Mainers, and making healthcare work for you includes providing care to more Mainers. Innovations in ways you can access care when and where you need us. northernlighthealth.org.
Maine Technology Institute, offering grants, loans, and equity investments to help support Maine's innovation economy, and committed to supporting new ideas with potential to grow. Visit mainetechnology.org.
FAME came along at a time when we really needed somebody to believe in our mission.
It's so nice to have somebody actually try to understand what we're doing.
FAME helps Maine businesses and lenders get to yes for their financing needs.
Thank you, FAME.
Thank you, FAME.
Thank you, FAME.
It's always been about helping people realize their dreams. And so I think a show like this helps people understand that they have a dream and it can be realized. So that's why we want to be part of Greenlight. That's why we want to make sure that the show exists, because it then not only inspires the people in the show, but I'm hoping that some people at home watching it get to understand that, hey, I got an idea, I got a dream, maybe I can realize it.
It was a great chance to reflect on exactly what I'm doing. It was fantastic. It was very easy. I found it thought-provoking, and in some ways inspiring.
Other people saw that we were making a difference in our community, and so that felt really good.